This is just a short how-to video to use the software for the 3D printer software. There's actually 2 parts that you have to open, and the first one is Simplify 3D, and it has 3 separate parts built into it, so we'll go ahead and open that software. I've got it open down here at the bottom. So first part of this software is to import your model, then define the process, and then prepare to print. So steps 1, 2, and 3, like I said. Now, finding the models to import can come from a couple of different places. And if you go to the fabulous internet, there is a site called Tinkercad. And on Tinkercad, you can sign up for an account. It's free. And you can go design your own or remake other things people have done. If you go into the Learn, there are a lot of like self-help tutorials that really do walk you through every single bit on how to create these. So maybe I want to do something with creating, or if I want to do something with building different things, I can go ahead and do it that way. If you log in, it opens up even more items that you can go look at. But for the sake of time for this video, I'm not going to show you what logging in looks like. If you are not a person who likes to tinker or create your own, if the design thing isn't yours, but you'd like to see how 3D printing works and print some stuff that's already out there, just be aware that not every design that's out there is compatible to fit nicely on the machine that we have. Also, not all designs are made perfectly, so you may find there are some imperfections in the world. And you may find that with your own designing too. So another place you can go is Thingiverse. And Thingiverse is probably the one I like to go to the most, just because I'm not really a tinkerer and designer, and it usually has most of the needs of what I'm looking for at any given time. So you're free to search. Like, I like to just start with education just because it gives it some specific subject categories, but you could just do a random search. Like, my son was looking for a button, and so he found a button that he could print, and he did that all on his own. And he's 4, remember, so if he can do it, you guys can do it. So you're going to find your design wherever it might be, and let's say I really wanted this egg rescue challenge. I'm going to go find this design, I'm going to download all the files, and if you scroll down, the really good ones have a lot of detail here. And if they're really good detail, I have to feel like they're probably a really good design to begin with. So you can see how many files are involved. You're going to want .stl files to print 3D printer stuff. So .stl files are what you need to have to import. Whether you're in Tinkercad, where you're designing your own and exporting, or whether you're in Thingiverse, where you're exporting. So I'm going to go ahead and download those, and then I would have the files I want. For the sake of time, I already downloaded some. I'm going to make a candy dispenser for a jar. So I'm going to go to my jump drive, and I have all of these files, and this is actually a 3-parter. Now I could print them individually, but my print bed is big enough that I can hold all of these. So I'm going to import all 3 at the same time. I probably could have selected all of them at once. I didn't really think about that. But it looks like they're all stacked. That's a problem. But if I hit center and arrange, you'll notice you can see all of those files on there, and it fit them all nicely on the print bed. So that will work great. So step 1, insert my models. Have to be a .stl file. Step 2, I have to define the process. I'm going to select all of these as the exact same process because I want them all to print the same. I'm going to add my process. If you want, you can rename this. Like if I were doing 2 colors, or if I wanted each one of these to be a separate color, then I might want to define each one separately. But for my purposes, I'm just going to make it all one color. PLA is the type of filament that we are using. Different print qualities. Medium is the default. Just know that if you save time by going faster, you also suffer quality. But if you go fine and waste more time printing this, then you're going to suffer time, obviously. And then you have to tell it which extruder you want this to come from. Now, in the 3D printer world, you can see there is a T0, and there is a T1 on here. You have to know which one you are looking at. I want mine to print from the left extruder, so mine's going to print from T0. So I'm going to select that. The infill, I don't really need much infill. I put some signs up that said you don't want greater than 25% infill because it's just going to be like a solid hard rock of an object, only it's plastic. And you don't really want it less than 10%. So I feel like 15 is pretty good. A rafting on the bottom is going to put a base support underneath each one of these items, and it should link them all together, which will help when I, take the item off. Plus, just to make them all uniform, I always like a rafting just so I'm sure they're going to stick. If I had something printing upright that needed supports, I'd want to do that, but where these are all flat to the surface, I don't need to worry about that. Step 1, insert your STL model. Step 2, define your process. Step 3 then is to prepare to print. As I prepare to print, I could go look and see and watch these layers play, and that's as they are going to develop. Once my layers are set, up here in this corner it'll tell me how long this is going to take. It's going to take about 4 hours and 19 minutes. So then I'm going to save this file. I'm going to save it as dispenser, and I'm going to throw it on my jump drive. Notice it saves as a .g code file. So that's done with that step. The next step would be to open the Makergear software. And when I open it up, it's going to ask me to type in the serial number. The serial number can be found on the front of each machine, right down there. And if you need the password, you could type it in again, but most of the time you won't need the password. So once I've typed in that serial number, then you're going to scroll down and you'll see this local, and it'll actually have the numbers in right there for it. I'm not typing it in again because I already have this instance open. And so I'll come down here. First thing you want to do, this is the default where it opens, you want to come over to the temperature button and you want to tell it to start heating whatever tool or tools you need. And if there's any question in your mind, you just click on the pull down, and again, we're using PLA, so you want to set it to 215. It's just a default. That's pretty easy. So now I have to go find my file, and I want to upload the one I just did. Notice it looks different on my jump drive. It's already set, and it even says instead of now being an STL file, it's a 3D model file. What that means is it's been sliced so the printer can read what the computer gave to it. So I'm going to go ahead and open that file. If I scroll up, and if you scroll in the white area, it'll actually scroll. Dispenser went up here. Now if it hadn't, I could have come down here and selected whatever else I wanted. But dispenser came up here. I'm going to tell it now, since it's at temperature, it's ready to print. Started making some noise, and the magic happens. That's the simplest way I can get you to start 3D printing.